which brings us to number 8, Imperva, IMPV. Revenue of $254 million, market cap of $1.25 billion. They're an interesting one. They fit with probably more potential acquirers than anybody else on our list.
Would you agree with that, Guaylon? Like, we put together that list, but yeah.
Well, so let me run through here. So
I think a lot of companies that could use.
So here's our longish short list of potential acquirers: IBM, Oracle, Microsoft, CA. They would all be reasonable fits. Then we kind of get to that second tier of players there: F5, Cisco, Juniper, Palo Alto,
the
Checkpoint,
network-centric guys.
And I wouldn't even rule out. An acquisition play by Amazon to integrate Imperva's technology directly inside the cloud.
Directly inside the cloud, yeah. So what just real quick, because maybe people are not as familiar with Imperva as some of the other companies we've discussed. Imperva is, they have basically 2 lines of business. One line of business is what they call a web application firewall. I think it's about 40% of their revenue. That's a relatively rare but not unique product. Their primary competitors, I think, are F5 Networks and maybe a couple of others. And then there's the part of the business I like the best, which is the data protection business. They have software that, as a third party, Imperva can protect your Oracle database, your IBM database, whatever database you may have. And it protects it by basically monitoring all of the transactions and giving you a log, an auditable log of all of the transactions in the database. So that somebody does, and also adds some actual real-time protections as well. So if somebody tries to, use a SQL injection attack or something like that and suck some data out of your database, you have a better chance of stopping it. And if you don't stop it, at least you've got a lot of good information about who did it and when and where and all that good stuff. So so it's a very unique property. The only competitor they have is IBM. So we were thinking IBM is an acquirer because boom, then they get a handle on this, what I think is a very nascent but incredibly important market. It's much more important going forward, in my opinion, than, say, for example, the advanced firewalls that just, you spend a lot of money just trying to stop people from getting in, when at the end of the day, they're going to get in anyway.
Right.
So,
right.
Anyway,
the idea of perimeter protection has faded quite a bit.
Yeah, it has faded quite a bit. So that's why I think Imperva's got a lot of value. And again, at 1.2 billion, and on with revenues of 200 and change, it's not that expensive. It's certainly compared to some of the other previously high flying cybersecurity stocks. So.
Right. Well, it's interesting you talk about the valuation because it has come in pretty meaningful over the last couple of months. And let's remember, Imperva announced that they had. They essentially put themselves up for sale in the latter part of 2016. So clearly they are looking at being acquired. It makes sense to from a business model standpoint. What Imperva does makes sense to a lot of larger players, specifically IBM, and I think some of the private equity guys would find their product offering very, very compelling as well.
That's true.
Yeah, That's true. I like this. I like this company. I like what they do because so much of the data that they're collecting fits so well with the behavioral analytics technology that's coming out. The idea that you're not going to stop the threat actors from getting inside the network necessarily. What you really would have to be able to do is recognize that once somebody is in there, what are the traffic patterns? What are the data patterns? What are the changes in protocol?
And
in this
patterns.
case, what about the read
exactly.
writes into the database?
Right.
What's being requested? Where is it being sent? Finding those anomalies there, and they do that very well. So Imperva, that's our number 8.
It is also a member.
It is a member of the Samadhi 16,
there you go.
Our high conviction category in the Samadhi Capital Partners portfolio.